This is your Daily 10. Calculator Video 7. Make sure you pause the video and attempt the question before you watch the solution. Here's your first question. So for this question, we've got the function 8x minus 5. What we need to do is substitute minus 2 into that. Now all that means is we need to substitute minus 2 where it says x here. So we are going to do 8 multiplied by, because it's 8x, minus 2, because it says that is the number I need to substitute in, and then take away 5. 8 times minus 2 is minus 16. Take away another 5 would give us minus 21. So we would circle that as our solution. Here's your next question. So this question is split into two parts. We'll start with part A. It's given as a table here to do with times at a checkout in a supermarket. The first thing it wants us to work out is the class interval where the median lies. Well, in order to work out the median, we need to know and find where the middle person is. It says up at the top that there are 80 customers in total. Now the trick that we've got is to find the middle thing, we need to actually add 1 on and then divide by 2. And what that does is it tells us the position of the median, the middle person, or the middle thing. So we're looking for 40.5. So in order to do this, we've only got 32 people in this top row, so we haven't got up to our 40.5 we were wanting. If we include the people on the next one down, that will get us up to 51. So straight away we've got over this 40.5, so the 40.5th person must be in this group, therefore the median is going to be in this group here from 2 to 4, so we would circle that as our answer. Here's the second part of the question. So the second part of the question says that we are trying to prove whether or not this is right or wrong. So 90% of the customers wait less than 6 minutes. Well, it's said up at the top of the question that there are 80 customers altogether. So the very first thing I'm going to do in my working is find 90% of 80. Well, there's a couple of ways of doing that. We can either change the 90% into a decimal, so 0.9, and times by 80, or you could find 10% and times by 9. Either way, we get that 90% is 72. Now what we want to try and prove using the table at the top then, is that 90% of the customers wait less than 6 minutes. So if we go up to the table at the top, the people who wait less than 6 minutes are these people here, because anybody in this group waits 6 minutes or more. So less than 6 minutes is these three groups here. Well, we've got 32 in the top one, 51 if we include the people in this second row, and including the third row we get up to 71 people. So when we are trying to prove that 72 people wait less than 2 minutes, that is wrong. 72 is greater than 71. So there is not enough information and the data does not support the evidence. Here's your next question. Now for this question, we're having to be careful with the type of percentages we're doing. It's a little bit later on in the paper and it's purely a percentage question, so it's quite likely it's not going to be just adding and taking away a percentage. So if we read, it says that Sophie makes birthday cards. She's added 30% profit to the cost price. So straight away what we can write down is if we start on 100%, Sophie has then added 30% onto this to give a total of 130%. That means that the £2.34 that she sells the cards for represents 130% of the cost. It says she needs to go back and change the percentage that she's adding on. So we can't just add 10% of this on, because 10% of this will be 10% of the cost and 10% of the actual profit she was making already. So what we need to do is to go back from this 130% to 1%, and then instead of adding 30% on, we are going to find out what 40% would have been. So that would be represented by 140%. The 100% of the cost plus 40% profit. So if you get your calculator, with this being a calculator question, we would do 2.34 divided by 130. That gives us 0.018. To then find 140%, so that would be the cost plus the 40% profit, we times that by 140, and again changing it to a decimal, and that would give us 2.52, and that would need a pound sign in front. So we just need to check and make sure this is what we wanted. How much would she sell the card for? This is now the cost plus 40%, so we would write down as our final answer £2.52. Here's your final question on this video, all to do with histograms. So if I show you that first, and then we take the graph up so you can see the crucial part of the wording. So when we're drawing a histogram, if the bars and the groups were all the same width, this here would just say frequency. It would just be the number of people or the number of things that each of the bars represented going up the side. As you can clearly see here, it's not that. It's frequency density. So the first thing you need to remember is that frequency density is equal to the frequency, so the number of people or things that the bar represents, divided by the class width, how wide the actual bar or the group is. Now, one additional thing that's useful to remember is that this means that the area of each bar represents the number of people that it's showing. So here for the first one, there are 30 members that have got a value less than 20, or an age less than 20. So that means age less than 20, this bar here represents 30 people. So it needs to have an area of 30. Now, if it's got an area of 30, if this bottom side here is 20, in order for me to work out the height of that bar, I would have to do 30 divided by 20. If you put that into your calculator, 30 divided by 20 gives us 1.5. That now means I can complete the scale on this histogram. So if this here is 1.5 and there's two more bars below, that to me suggests that we're going up in jumps of 0.5. And so on. It says there are 12 members from 65 to 80. So this is the only other bar that we need to actually try and put on. Now, if there's 12 members, that means if I'm using the frequency density, 12 as the frequency, so the number of people the bar represents, divided by the class width. Well, from 65 up to 80, that's 15, so the class width is 15. If you take your calculator, 12 divided by 15 gives us 0.8. So we need a bar that is 0.8 high. Well, if this is 0.5, this is 1, 0.8 will be just here. And of course you'll do this a lot neater in real life in the exam. And we'll put our bar looking something like that.